Some shopping malls across the GTA, they're still struggling to fill the empty retail spaces left behind by major big box stores like Hudson's Bay and Nordstrom, and most recently Toys R Us is in the closure of several locations across the province. And for a look at what the future holds for the millions of square feet of vacant retail space, I'm joined live by Alex Hennick, retail bankruptcy expert and president of AD Hennick and Associates. Alex, thanks a lot for joining us. It's like we keep having these conversations, you know, more and more. So most recently, let's talk about what happened with Yorkdale Mall. So you get this store, they want to come in, but the mall is saying you don't fit with our brand. You don't fit with our cachet. And a judge agreed. Why?
Yeah, I mean, they had, they didn't have an established company, and they were opening up, a new big box retailer. So, Yorkdale has the ability to, hold off or make sure that kind of stuff doesn't happen. Because when we're talking about empty square feet, we're talking about malls. Yorkdale Mall is not on that list of, struggling malls or, malls that need to fill the gap. It's more of those B-grade malls. So Yorkdale has that ability to decide and choose who are those tenants going to be moving forward.
So, I mean, could we possibly see another luxury retailer come in there, or?
Yeah, so in a case like Yorkdale, yes, potentially another luxury retailer. The problem is there's not many retailers these days that can occupy, 40,000 plus, up to 100,000 square feet, because that big box model is no longer in terms of as many of, the department store type brands.
So how long could they potentially hold out for another viable, likable?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a combination, right? It's are they going to hold out, or are they going to make the change? Because, in my opinion, retail has, these are going to be changes for moving forward. These are structural changes, and they need to adapt, and they need to be creative in order to find, tenants for these spaces.
So what type of message does this send to the public, to shoppers?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is, e-commerce has fundamentally changed the amount of space required for retailers. Retailers don't need as many locations. They don't need as big locations. And as they continue to grow and the landscape changes, they need to cut costs. So malls are becoming more of an experience. They're becoming more entertainment. So they have to be creative in terms of how do we get people to come, and what kind of tenants are we going to be able to get as we move forward. On the ground floor, we're seeing off-price retailers. We're seeing specialty grocery stores. And additional to that, we're seeing experiences and entertainment. So that might be an arcade. That could be pickleball courts, so a golf simulator, kids' birthday parties, maybe a trampoline. So it's really getting people to come to the mall for experiences, rather than trying to fill it with that traditional retail space.
So wait, we could see the resurgence of arcades in malls again?
Yeah, you never know. I mean, these are creative ways that people are finding tenants, because that typical retailer is just not there anymore. And these locations are so large that it's very difficult to find someone.
Okay, so speaking of fun and games, what is the latest with Toys R Us? Because we know what people had until tomorrow, the 16th, to use their gift cards.
For sure.
But a judge has given them a little bit more time with their restructuring. So does that mean there's more time to use your gift cards, or?
I don't know. There's no more time in terms of the gift cards, but in terms of their plan, they're still in the process. They're working with the judge. They have someone appointed, and they're trying to figure out that move forward plan. Whether that's going to be a restructure on a smaller footprint, in order to stay in business, if that's going to be to liquidate. So Toys R Us, right now is still in the process of figuring it out. And, in the meantime, the stores are busy, and customers are encouraged to kind of go in and, get that last shop, use those gift cards, and see if you can get a good deal.
Okay, so, we've had sort of these revolving conversations around this. You said that this is probably only going to happen more throughout this year, right?
Unfortunately, yeah. We're seeing more and more of it, just, of these historic brands who have been around for so many years that haven't made the changes necessary, that haven't grown enough in terms of e-commerce, that have a big footprint, and it's really caught up to them. There's a lot of things, over the last probably 5-6 years that are out of people's control in terms of, COVID and tariffs and supply chain. But there's a lot that's in their control in terms of lowering costs and finding ways to be relevant. So it's a difficult retail environment right now.
And also on the flip side, there's the possibility, opportunity of getting items at a discount.
For sure. No question about that.
All right, Alex Hennick, retail bankruptcy expert and president of AD Hennick and Associates. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.